Welcome back, Stern Grovers from around the world, for class 3 of our drumming sessions of our virtual education program presented by the Stern Grove Festival Association. I'm Dr. Jaz Sawyer, and I'm happy to be back with you. Today we're going to learn about all the elements we need for our drum circle. So let's go ahead and begin. All right, drummers, so today we're going to learn about the elements of the drum circle. But first, what is a drum circle? A drum circle is a gathering of folks celebrating, honoring tradition, and some remembering ancestors or people that left us, or maybe new people that are coming to the world. Okay, so most importantly, it's a fun experience, and that's what it's all about. Really getting together, listening to each other, and participating in something really fun. Okay? So we're going to review some of those things that we need to start the drum circle. Another important element of the drum circle is determining who will do the calls. Okay, so you can do that by paper, rock, scissors. You can do that by eeny, meeny, miny, mo, however you want to pick the person to lead the call and response. That's very important because they're going to be leading the tempo, the call and responses, the dynamics, and mostly all the cues. Okay, so challenge yourself and have switch it up. So sometimes if you're just playing the shaker part, maybe you're the person leading the drum circle. Okay, so it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you can be the leader of the drum circle. Okay, so in one of our previous classes, we talked about identifying the instrument. So before we can even start the drum circle, we want to, think about what instrument do we like to play, right? And remember, we can play hand drums or instruments or accessories that you play with sticks. So remember, with our hand drums, we have several different sounds, right? We have our open sound, right? We have a bass sound, okay? You can even do this, right? We have a muffle sound, okay? That's a new one for you. And then we have our closed slap. Okay, you want to get that good slap in there. And then you even have a open slap. Okay? Whereas your open tone is like this, right? You want to get the full sound. The slap has a heavier accent on it, okay? All right, so let's try out our spaghetti pot. Now remember, this could slip off of your legs, so make sure you're balanced. You may have to put your heels up or put a sweater or something across your lap, and that'll prevent it from moving around, right? And you want to have a little open space so you can have that sound come out, okay? So let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now remember, I'm using a little less hand pressure, right? Because we don't want to hurt our hands. So I'm really just using the fingers kind of close to a bongo technique, right? So I can use my index fingers, right? Just play very lightly. Or I can use all my fingertips, right? Get a bigger sound. Okay, so let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. right? Nice and simple. Okay, and I'll even just use my index fingers to make it even easier, right? See, I discovered a new little sound in the center there, so I'm using that to come up with my rhythmic possibilities. So as you can see here, I found a smart way to finally mount my spaghetti pot. I just have a stool here and I put it on top of there, so that's another way to prevent it from moving around. But the reason I did that is now I can consider using the spaghetti pot with my drumsticks. Okay, so I can use this as a stick drumming instrument as well. And that'll give me a whole bunch of possibilities. So again, I want to see what different sounds I can get out of it, right? So again, pretty much those two sounds, a high sound and a low sound or open sound. So even that, when we talk about alternating our sticks, I can use my right hand on the high part and my left hand on the low part, right? Or vice versa. Some of the stick instruments can actually be timekeepers. So for example, if I have my spoons, right, I'm going to play more of a simpler beat, right? Okay? Or even simpler than that, just using our quarter notes, right? Right? We can incorporate our quarter notes and our eighth notes, right? 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3. Or we can even do it the other way. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. We also have our claves again. Or we can play something nice and simple. 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. And for those that have claves out there, just a refresher on how to hold them, you want to make sure you rest the clave there, right? You don't want it to be too tight or else you're not going to get a lot of ring out of your clave there, okay? So just very lightly set it there. And then over here, you can either do it this way, right, to the side, kind of this funny grip here, or you can even hold it like a drumstick. Remember, you don't want to hold it too tight because you want the sound to ring, okay? That's how you get a good sound. Okay, remember, not too tight, just very lightly, and then you'll get that good warm sound. Okay, good. And then remember our cowbell friend here has a couple sounds, so that gives us some options. We kind of have our high sound, and then we have our low sound. And again, if we have our pot here, remember, not too many sounds we can get out of this guy, but we can use it as a sustaining sound, right, to let it ring, right? So maybe you play that on the first beat of each measure, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, you can be that person that the rest of your drum circle relies on, that they always know where that one beat is, which is then we have our friend here, the Kibasa. And again, there's only really this one sound, but there's a lot of rhythmic possibilities. Okay, so for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, nice and simple. 2, 3, 4, 1, some eighth notes. 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. And if you were going to shake this one, do it like so. Moving over to our maracas. Now remember, you may have a smaller shaker, like an egg shaker. We talked about going to your local music store. You can get those fun egg shakers for a couple bucks. So again, there's only really one sound there. You can make some swirls, of course, but another timekeeper just to keep things together, right? And then maybe as we're talking about rolls and holding notes, this is where you can get in on the action too, right, with a roll. Okay, just in that circular motion. And then our friends, the maracas, right? So same thing, we can keep something real simple with quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's no wrong way to play it. You can play them together at the same time, or you can alternate them, right? So you can do right, right, or left, right, right? So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or we can play them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Throw some eighth notes in there. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then of course we can also do our swirls. I may even have my cheese grater, and that's okay too. Again, understanding the different sounds you can make out of this. Remember in the other class, there's not so many interesting sounds with hitting it, so we're going to use it like a guida, right? So nice and simple. 1, 2, and 3. So you're going up and down. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. Okay? 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3. Okay? So even simpler than that, just use our quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, another timekeeper instrument if you want to just start out simple, and that's okay. Okay, we're going to do a rhythm refresher now to make sure you have rhythmic ideas so you can explore all the possibilities and come up with your own rhythms. So let's review our quarter notes. Remember, we're talking about 4 beats in a measure or a bar of music. That's how we count it, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in 4/4 quarter time. Okay, that means the quarter note gets the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we have our eighth notes, and the way we count those are 1 and. Okay, so not A and D, remember, but with a AN. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Twice as fast as the quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? And that's where we have our quarter notes and our eighth notes. Now remember our tempo, a good standard medium practice beginner tempo is between 80 to 85 beats per minute. Okay, so that's roughly about this tempo, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're going to work a little bit with our quarter notes and eighth notes. And remember, tempo is very important because that's how we stay together and we're all on the same page. Okay, so now I want to introduce to you the 16th note. And that is, guess what? Twice as fast as the eighth note. Exactly. Okay, so we have our quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now we have our 16th notes. Now how do we count the 16th notes? Okay, it's a little more tricky. So we have 1 E, right? E is in Edward. Then we have our N is still in there, A-N. And then we have a if you can believe that. UH. Okay? So we have one beat, one E and a. Okay? So if we did that in tempo, we'd be here. One E and a. Okay, really fast, right? So one E and a. And then how will we finish out the bar or the measure, right? Is we would just count out that first, the beat, right? So we have one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a. Now that's a little slow, right? So if we go back to our tempo, one, two, three, four. One E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a. Okay, this is where you might want to alternate between right and left, okay? Because it might be a little difficult to do that with one hand, right? One E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a. Okay, so this is where alternating comes in, okay? And that just means alternating your hands, right? So we have one, two, three, four. One E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a, three, four. One E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a, one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a. Okay, good. You guys got that. So now that you all are on your way becoming rhythm masters, let's put some call and response together with quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. So don't be intimidated. I know you can do it. Okay? And just do your best. So we'll do these in tempo. Okay? So right after I finish, for example, if I play one measure, you're right there on measure two. So for example, one, two, three, four. Okay? Let's try another one. Okay, that was a tough one, right? So we did one, two, three E and a, four E and a. One, two, three E and a, four E and a. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, good. Let's try another one. Okay, so obviously those are in tempo, but sometimes when you're doing the call and response element, the response has to be together with the rest of the responders. Okay? So, in other words, it may or may not be in tempo. Okay? So, remember we talked about eye contact and listening and cues. And right? And one obvious one we can do is with our head. So, let's try three call and responses out of tempo. Okay? So, the rhythmic pattern is still pretty much in tempo, but you're not starting right on the next measure, right? So if I do a call, you're taking a pause and collectively responding together, okay? So here's an example. Now I'm going to try a few different tempos, all right? So the first one may be a faster one, the second one may be a slower one, so they all may be different tempos. So what do you have to do? Make sure you're listening very closely, okay? Here we go. And we're going to do this out of time as well. Okay, that was a hard one, right? Now remember, in that head nod, what's not being seen is your processing. You're thinking about what you just heard, but then you're giving yourself basically a beat in tempo. So, for example, when I'm head nodding, I'm getting ready to think about beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So to make sure that I'm with my group and we're all coming in together on that beat 1. Right? So it's a little challenging because you have to listen and some people may hear it different and that's okay. But more importantly, the call and response is about group participation. So it's okay if it's not perfect. You guys will be rhythm experts someday, okay? Sooner than later. But for now, we're just trying to get an idea of how to play together. And that's the most important part. So if you decided to play hand drum like a conga drum, a bongo, a spaghetti pot, whatever works for you, remember we have our different sounds. This way you're able to discover your groove and how you want to jam, okay? And remember we have a lot of possibilities. We have our quarter notes, our eighth notes, our 16th notes. We have the different sounds of the instrument. So there's a lot of different possibilities. Okay, so let's try some out. So something very simple. No call and responses just yet. We're just going to count one measure in, and then we're going to play a groove. Okay? And I want you to play along too for the hand drummers and just try some different things out. You can either copy me or play the opposite. So that's one way to figure out how you can play your part, your original groove. Okay? So here we go. 2, 3, 4. Right? Just using quarter notes and eighth notes. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Right? Something nice and simple. I'm using my bass tone. Okay? Let's try another one. I'm going to start with the bass tone on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1. Okay, if I want to get real fancy, I'll try some of my different sounds in there. Got some open slaps there. Right? Or I could do some muffle sounds, which is basically, again, just with the fingers here. You're kind of pushing and pulling at the same time. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, I have my snare drum here. Now, I would recommend if you're going to play in a drum circle to turn the snare off. So what that means is the snare is the metal ruffle part here on the bottom, and there's a latch usually that you just push right off there, right? Or sometimes you have to twist it down to turn the snare off. Okay, so the snare is the part that resonates on the drum. Okay? So that would just sound better for the drum circle. But nothing wrong if you want to keep the snare on. That's okay too. I can play on the rim of the drum. I can play on the drum itself. Okay? And then we have something called the cross stick. Okay, so basically I have my drumstick and my hand pretty much in the center of the drum, and I'm going to use my index finger and thumb to control the lift. Okay, so guess what? I get closer to that woodblock sound, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just keeping quarter notes with my left hand and getting real busy with my right hand using the rim and the open drum, right? Right? So you might get that muffle sound if your hand is touching the drum while you're playing the stick. And that's okay too. It's a different sound. It's kind of cool. Similar to that muffle sound right on the conga drum. One, two, three, four. What are dynamics? Well, we learned about tempo, right? How fast or slow we play in music. But dynamics has to do with how, right, how soft or loud we play. Okay, so that's what we call dynamics. Now we can play really, really soft, or we can play really, really loud. So we did talk about cues for starting and stopping and even tempos. But what's the cue for getting louder or softer in the drum circle? Okay. Well, again, as we assign someone that's the lead, they're going to be the person that determines how loud or soft. And what that does is it makes it more interesting, not only to the drum circle, but to the listener. So a few tips and recommendations. Now remember, everyone learns at their own pace, okay? And that's okay. The drum circle is about having fun and group participation. So it does not have to be perfect. The more and more you do it, the more and more it'll get better, okay? So remember, those that are maybe struggling with some of the rhythms or they don't catch on just as fast, everyone learns at their own pace, okay? So just make sure no matter what you do, you have fun. And guess what? As long as you're listening and watching each other, when it comes to the cues, right, you'll know when to stop and start. And that's really one of the most important things when you're in your drum circle, because then you'll really be sounding good, okay? And remember, when you're exploring your instrument, you want to decide if you want to do stick drumming or hand drumming. Remember, explore the different tones you can get out of the instrument. That way you'll have different possibilities. And remember, we talked about our quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. So that gives you tons of rhythmic possibilities, okay? Just remember to practice slow, right? A slow tempo. And when you get a rhythm down, then you can really get faster. So for example, if you got this rhythm down, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. It's okay to try it a little faster. Okay, so count yourself in one measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, good. And remember our tempo and dynamics, right? Tempo, we can even change the tempo within the drum circle, and we'll talk about that next time. And we also talked about dynamics, how soft or loud that we play, okay? And that also brings many interesting possibilities. And those cues can range, right? From a hand going up and down or to eye contact with the drum circle where everybody comes down, right? Using a head nod. Well, drummers, congratulations. You have finished Class 3 of the Virtual Education Program presented by the Stern Grove Festival Association. As always, thank you to the great staff. We're going to see you next time for Class 4. I'm Dr. Jaz Sawyer, and we will see you next time, and keep practicing.